All right.
Welcome back to Word of Mouth, everybody. We're really excited that you decided to join us on this beautiful little day, whatever day you're having.
Whatever day it is.
Yeah. And you might be thinking to yourself, what the heck? Y'all aren't in the studio. Where are you? And we have two guests that are here
We are at RMR4x4. Go live it.
Let's go, guys.
Man, guys, we are so excited to be here. If you would, tell the guests, who are you? What are you doing here?
So my name is Sean Eden, and I'm one of the owners of RMR4x4, and glad to have you guys come interview us.
Absolutely.
And who are you?
My name is Kip Eden. I'm his older brother.
He pulled the older card.
Yeah, I do not recommend being business partners with your older brother. You're, eternally an employee.
Yeah. That's funny. Older and taller, right?
Older,
So
taller.
you just got to flex that on him?
Yeah, we call him Grandpa. Yeah, he kind of raised me, you know.
So are you guys from here? Y'all from Birmingham?
No, I personally went to, I think, 18 different schools growing up.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Kip, what's your number?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
How do you even go to 18? That's like more than one per grade.
So our mom worked at Cleaners, and there was a list in the pocket of one of the jackets, and it had like 4 names on it, and 2 were like marked off, and so we got put in the witness protection program.
He's lying.
I was like, where are you going with this?
Was your dad military?
Yeah.
Were you in the witness protection program? But
Yeah.
it was just my dad, and they had 4 kids before that he graduated college, so he's just chasing that dollar, man.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, you're good.
There we go. Sorry.
So no, so our dad, he was a trainer, and worked for, did some training for dealerships, and would come into dealerships, get their numbers right, do all the hiring and firing and kind of get them back on track, and then move to the next dealership. And so instead of him doing that and us staying located, we just stayed together as a family, and we would live somewhere for 6 to 8 months and then on to the next dealership. And so
Swore we'd never get in the car.
Yeah,
I was going to say that's crazy that
yeah.
you're now here. It
Yeah,
kind of
I
makes a
know,
lot of sense, actually.
I know. And we had zero interest really for the car industry, I would say, kind of growing up.
And what he did and the stuff that like he kind of touched in the car industry is really, my dad couldn't come in here and really do much here.
Yeah.
It's just so different, at that corporate level.
So he was going to like Chevy, Ford,
Like
Honda.
big conglomerate, spots. But he, when we saw him, do that as a kid, I was just like, I don't want anything to do with the car industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was an interesting way to kind of grow up, and I think it kind of made us, who we are today, and so I really wouldn't change anything, but it's funny,
No regrets.
just not one.
So how did y'all end up here in Birmingham? Did y'all grow up like all across the Southeast?
I'm curious, like where you went to 18 different schools. Like how? Was it all in Alabama, or was it all like over the country?
So Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Colorado,
North
Carolina,
back to
and
Florida.
Virginia. We were both born in Lynchburg, Virginia. Our dad was at Liberty University.
Yeah.
And so, but never went to school there in Lynchburg. But yeah, so even Virginia.
Where'd you graduate from high school?
Graduated from high school in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, cool.
So I played sports growing up and got recruited by a private school my senior year to play football and baseball, and so we.
Kip made a face at that.
Yeah, it was. We had a guy that was our youth minister, and we were living in Pensacola, and and he moved up and became the coach, and knew me and my younger brother were good athletes, and so like.
But like not your older brother, maybe.
Nah, he was.
No, I graduated high school in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah,
A few years before that, and but we all played sports growing up, which is kind of fun to go into a new program, but it was also kind of a pain when you'd have like a position earned,
Sure.
or be sort of plugged in with the team and have to build that chemistry again. So it had its ups and downs moving around, but it, like he said, it definitely, if anybody walks through that door, we can connect in some way.
Yeah.
We've lived all over the country. My dad went from no job to a job, no job to a job,
Yeah.
bouncing around. So, for us, it was just kind of the way of life, like that change just constantly. And so when we moved here, or when my parents moved to Birmingham when we were in college, we basically came back home and never, this is kind of where we were like, this place is kind of home.
Yeah.
Yeah, our parents moved off, but it was after we were out of we were in college at that point. We liked Birmingham, so we just stayed, and so they've continued to kind of move around. But they're actually back. They're back in Birmingham now. So
Yeah.
but we all, being as we grew up, having to beat out, win those positions of established people, like. Made us pretty competitive. So like all three of, myself, Kip, and our younger brother, we all played college sports. So, so that was kind of that was the only thing we were thinking about growing up as far as profession was being a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And then I think, that the realization hits when you're in college. You're like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, these guys are good.
Yeah, this is. I don't know if I'm going to be, a running back for, the Falcons. And so I mean, we kind of, stumbled in this profession, and.
So you played football in college?
I played football and baseball.
Both?
Yeah.
Wow, Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Basically.
Are you Bo Jackson?
I know, yeah. I am a huge fan of Bo Jackson.
Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Where did you play at?
War Eagle. I played at Taylor University.
Oh, cool.
It's
Indiana, right?
Indiana, yeah.
So I talked to them about soccer whenever I was a wee little lad
Yeah.
in high school. But I had a buddy who went and played goalkeeper there.
Okay.
So he liked it.
Yeah, and it was a fun school. It was, a smaller school. I really wish, looking back, I would have just probably gone to like maybe a bigger school and just did football.
Sure.
Doing both was a little tough. Baseball is really hard, especially at like an NAI school. I mean, there's, you would have a doubleheader on Tuesday, a doubleheader on Thursday. You're playing a team that's 6 hours away. You leave on Monday. You come back and, then play on Tuesday. You're driving back on Wednesday to have a doubleheader Thursday.
That's
crazy.
I mean, you
And
just
you're a
miss,
student.
Yeah, and a student. You just miss.
And a person.
Yeah. And
That
yeah.
And that
sleeps
was
and
before
stuff.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
before. That was. The telephone was just invented. So.
Kip, did you play college ball?
I did. I played baseball, and I played junior college for a couple of years, and then went and played at a 4-year school in Mobile, and then sat the bench and realized, like, this is probably, these guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
And so we moved back to Birmingham. Probably, it was one of those things. I was, when you do that your whole life and you're sort of, that's all you're thinking about, and you've only done that since you're 5 years old, and it just like ends.
Yeah.
And you kind of go through this like little bit of like, what do I do now?
Existential crisis.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do like some real soul searching and say like, what is my identity, and like, what do I want to do? And I didn't really I wish I would have taken school a little more seriously, because it was just sports. And so when we moved back, I went back and to UAB and was, going through their business program, and we ended up stumbling on this software company.
Okay.
And basically did electronic medical records. And I didn't even have an email address at the time.
Yeah.
Or a computer. And this guy's like, look, I need somebody to come in and train the doctors and talk to the doctors. And he's like, I'm not that guy. So
cool.
You're what, like 22 at the time?
Yeah.
So you're doing like an MBA, or you're finishing up undergrad?
No, I was just finishing up my undergrad.
Oh, wow,
and
okay.
met this guy. And so so I ended up, doing this electronic medical record with this guy. And
What year is this?
God, was it like
2000.
2000?
3? Okay.
Whatnot?
Groundbreaking
01.
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So
is-
they didn't even have, like, the hospital didn't even have Wi-Fi. Like it.
Holy
Oh,
cow.
There was
wow.
no
We were having to
iPhone.
dial in on it with a NIC card.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were
If you
installing
know what that
Wi-Fi.
means.
I have no idea. what that
I mean,
means.
Yeah.
I think I kind of know what dialing up means, but not really.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there trying to train these physicians that you got to think about this. They didn't have, like, right now we think so digitally, like,
Uh-huh.
and like you can send a picture without even, like that,
Yeah.
that concept back then of getting information
To
to
another
something
place.
with a device
Yeah.
was unheard
The
of.
50 to 60-year-old doctors, they're
And physicians are like the most like hard-headed
oh,
people
oh,
ever.
Yeah,
Dude,
they're so set in their ways. But I will say, we would go in and do our spiel, and then, the final thing that we would talk about was the billing side, and we would wait for that for the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have, like, they wouldn't be listening to anything you were saying the whole time. You could just just read the crowd, and then we would say, like, well, at the very end it tells you that you're, based on what you've done, you can bill at level 2, and it'll say, if you want to bill at level 3, maybe run another lab or 2, and like whenever you got to that point, it was
money.
like, well, what was
Wait, what now?
what was that
Yeah,
last
it was
part?
weird too, because if you ask a certain amount of questions,
Yeah.
you could build a different level, and
Sure.
there'd be 2 questions off on a review of the client, and even the triage stuff, and
Yeah.
sort of not duplicating where they come in and get it here and then they get it there, do it again, and allergies and what medications that their insurance would pay for, and just little things that wasn't available to these guys, you
Yeah.
know. And so, but just that world going from sports to that corporate sort of where there's politics involved,
Yeah.
and like you can't go in this area because you're not, you haven't been there long enough, or it's just it was eye-opening for us, and it was really good to sort of learn that side of the world that we had never been a part of. And then before you know it, I'm like writing code to build templates for these
Holy cow.
physicians, and we're going to these conferences, and it was really it was pretty cool. I mean, we're making really good money for guys that were in our early 20s.
Early 20s, yeah.
And then we started sort of wanting a cool car. And,
as you do.
yeah. And we always have had sort of this, been drawn to Jeeps and Broncos and Land Cruisers and, old Defenders and stuff. And so when I was in college in Mobile, I remember driving over that Mobile Bay Bridge, and this girl drove by in a like 94 Defender 90 with the top off, her dog in the back, and she was just drove by, and I was like, that's
Music playing.
that was just the
That's
most
the perfect vibe.
it was.
Yeah.
And I said, I will own one of those one day.
Yeah.
And so when we were doing this, I went to, I don't know, I was looking for a Defender, and at the time Tom Williams was, had all the dealerships here, and they had a 97 white Defender 90 wagon, brand new, in the showroom, and this was like in 2000.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it'd been there for like 2.5, 3 years. It was. I think they were asking like 10 or 12 grand sticker. It's just
Wow.
what was wrong
It
with
was like a
like
50-something thousand RMSRP, and they
Yeah.
come down to like 38 grand or
yeah.
something. It was nuts.
That's
I
And
just
so-
don't get
crazy.
what's so different with like our dad's generation, to where the men weren't like oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. In my entire
That's
life.
always
Like,
something I wonder
yeah.
about. Like the Porsche Carrera GT.
Yeah.
It's like one of the greatest cars ever
Yeah,
made.
yeah.
And
Most
Porsche couldn't sell them.
We lost the most money we've ever lost on a car was a Porsche Carrera GT.
It's crazy.
We lost, a lot
It's
of
a
money,
big number.
and today, like
car's
that
over $1
car's
million.
worth over $1 million, and I think we had paid it was like a 280 car or something at
Yeah.
the time. Like, I mean, it's just
Goodness.
And we lost. We sold it for like $250, and we were clicking our heels. You know, like
I think
ooh,
Goodness.
it only had
500 miles.
500 miles
Yeah.
and needed a
Oh
clutch.
my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
The clutch was like
that's the thing.
40 grand.
Yeah.
You know, we're like,
yeah. The
ooh.
thing everyone's afraid of
The
with
most
those cars.
uncomfortable car I've ever driven in my life.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely built for a racetrack.
So when did you get involved, Sean? So Kip comes up here, starts doing undergrad.
So we both
moved back here.
Okay.
Yeah, we both moved back. We both were working at Children's
So
Hospital.
I got the job, brought him over,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and so we're both doing it, and we both, started making a little bit of money for a guy
Yeah.
that's in his 20s.
Yeah.
Most of my buddies were working at a gym or something, you
Right.
know, or playing minor league baseball, and so we started just, going and like when we grew up, we didn't get a car when we were 16. We didn't, our parents didn't pay for our college. So, I mean, being able to have access to a little bit of money and go buy a
Sure.
car that you actually wanted to buy versus like a hand-me-down
Yeah.
or some, driving your parents' minivan.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought an old like Series Rover. I had a Disco 2 that I
No,
bought.
that was a Disco 1.
No, it was. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a '97
Yeah.
Disco 1, and then I had a Series 3. I'll never forget. It came from Utah. It had a sticker on the back it had a trout and it said "Love 'em or leave 'em," "Love 'em and leave 'em," and it was like my favorite sticker of all time.
Yeah.
And so that was, I mean, eBay had been around maybe for like a year or two, and so we would play
Wow.
around on eBay and then find stuff and find cars and I mean, I think Kip can say this too, but the misery of what we did for profession was so high that like it just didn't fit our personality, and I'll never forget. I mean, it was, Friday would come around and you'd be like so ecstatic. I mean, it was just like the greatest feeling ever, and then roll into Saturday and just you'd almost wake up Sunday morning and it would just be this, just like you just almost feel sick to your stomach just knowing that you're about to start that week over again on Monday. And so we both talked about it, and at the time, like our dad had gotten into some warranty stuff, and we had met a guy that was kind of in the car business, and we just both decided like, man, we're just going to turn our 2-week notice and we're going to go and like, the company was called Linus Enterprises just because of Charlie Brown, Linus with the safety blanket, and it was like the safety of an extended warranty, and so we'd go talk to these dealerships, just like I guess people now come and talk to us, and we're busy, and none of them ever had time for you. But as we went around back then, not a lot of some dealerships would kind of specialize. Like this guy would love Honda Accords, and this guy would do Audis, and this guy liked higher in Mercedes. And so when we were talking to these dealerships, we'd be like trying to sell them this warranty, and then we'd see that they traded in this Audi, and we knew this dealership we just left liked Audis, and so we'd ask them about it, and then that turned into.
It was one of those things that you're sitting there trying to sell this guy a warranty who's not listening to you.
Yeah.
And to make $50 and hope you can sell 1,000 warranties over a year, when I could look at a trade-in, and they don't want. This is pre-recession, so car dealerships wanted to sell new cars.
Yeah.
Like the used car, like they wanted to get rid of them and get them off their lot.
Close out the sale, close out their books.
And so we figured out just having that rapport and being in with these guys that we could buy that trade in and sell it to somebody else and make $500 like that. And it was versus selling 10 warranties and hope that these guys when you're doing warranty stuff, it's really you just kind of give them the tools to do it, and then you're just hoping that
hoping they
They-
remember
residual,
to do it.
the
Yeah.
residual income is great in theory, but like, it's so out of your control. That's kind of probably the part that I think, we hate the most is whenever, like when we're doing something and it's something that we don't have any kind of control over, and being able to like flip that car, it's like we know we can control like making this money, or with us generating the revenue and income rather than relying on somebody else, for our livelihood. And so I think
Back to the Defender story.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
So I called up there, and they said they would sell it to me for like $38,000. The guy's like, man, I just talked to my manager. He said he'd do $38,000 on that car. It's brand new. So I like finish what I'm doing, maybe take an hour or two, drive over. I'm super excited. I'm going to buy this car. And the guy comes up. He's like, you're not going to believe this, but like one of the other sales guys overheard our conversation and called one of our other customers, and he got here before you did and bought it.
Dang.
Oh my
This
God.
truck's been sitting there since 90,
That's crazy.
97. And so we ended up, I think I ended up going to like Land Rovers Nashville and buying a car with you.
Yeah.
And we walk in the store, and the guys are like, they're driving Rovers, and they're, they all fly fish, and the store was like canoes and, fly fishing creels everywhere, and it was
reminiscent of
Yeah.
somewhere else that
Yeah,
I've been.
Yeah.
and it was like, man, this is how a Land Rover dealership, and there were some like really cool, like Land Rover dealerships used to be, like that sort of Orvis, store.
Yeah.
When you'd walk in, and
Yeah, they would want to find like a guy that was, a ski instructor that had a master's in business, lived in Telluride for 2 years and decided to
that's
get.
who was working.
That's
at Land
who was
Rover
the
back then.
GM, So
Interesting.
because that was the GM at the time, and we were, big fly fishermen, big snowboarders, like loved outdoors, like. We hit it off so well with the GMs at most of the Land Rover stores, and so we when we quit, we were doing that, going around doing the warranty stuff and just hitting those accounts. We started dealing with Land Rover stores, and we were buying the used inventory and going around, and for a minimal fee, buying the used cars for probably
we started
10 Land Rover stores.
We started going to. Back then, you could go to these Land Rover specific auctions that Land Rover would sell all their lease turn-ins.
Yeah.
And they would have 30 or 40 Defenders
Wow.
coming off of lease. And so we'd go to these auctions and specifically to purchase the Defenders just for ourselves,
Yeah.
to drive them. And then when we would drive them, we'd list them here locally, and we'd do like tires and do a little lift and kind of make them look the way we wanted to look. And as soon as we gave it sort of the look that we liked, it was just like people were pulling, saying like, I want that, or
Yeah.
and we're like, man, this is something here. This town is they like cool trucks.
Yeah.
And so it started organically where we're just doing like one or two, and then we were going to these auctions and buying these Defenders, and all these used car managers that were at these Land Rover dealerships were like, look, man, you guys are in your 20s. We see you at every single one of these auctions. If you guys want to buy our inventory, we'll pay you like a little fee to do it. You guys, you inspect the cars and get them on trucks and do it. And so we started doing that and building a really good relationship with all these Land Rover dealers and getting 30, 40, 50 cars a month
Wow.
from that they were trading in.
Yeah.
Like LR3s and different cars that were 50,000 miles, and they would sell them to us, and then we put tires, run them through our, through a local shop and make sure they're all mechanically sound, and turn around and sell them. And then that turned into something that we were just kind of going to do maybe 2 or 3 a month that number kept building up, and then people would come do business with us and say, we really like the way you guys, this transaction went. Could you find my friend this or my wife this car?
Yeah.
So we decided then probably right.
So I think we get in about 06, we when the economy started slowing down. There was a big push at all the franchise dealerships to run the cars through the auction, and so we started kind of losing a little bit of accounts here and there, a little bit of the and
our overhead was our cell phone.
Yeah,
Right.
it was,
It
that push probably was the push that pushed us into like getting into retail. Is like, look, we've been buying this used inventory for
and we were
15 different
good
Land
at
Rover
it.
stores, and we know the market. We've had good success for it, personally, and so we ended up starting Red Mountain Rovers in 06, and then and so I got into retail then, but
And
then,
we felt like we got on we're on the map when Land Rover was going to sue us for using the word Rovers.
Yeah, so we would have won the lawsuit. But every attorney we talked to said it's going to cost you,
Yeah.
So around 2010, I think, we had, we got notified that they were, they were suing a couple different bigger companies that had success in the industry.
They were using the word like
they had trademarked the word
Rover.
Rover for the automotive industry, but we had our name prior, but I think it was going to cost us $2 million to keep it. So that's when we came up with the RMR, and RMR LLC was actually taken in the state of Alabama, which is an acronym for Red Mountain Rovers. So we had to add the 4x4 on there, but from day one we've kind of really been, the recognition of our company's been more of like our logo, kind of like the prints of, car dealerships. And so I think that the logo being specific and us like not having like our, name all over the cars when we'd sell them, was kind of an easy transition. But and we just, we've been back and forth on, keep it throughout the years. We change it. But we've now had the name RMR since 15 years. So
Yeah.
4x4.
And it was a temporary, I was like, we'll do this because people would say, let's go to RMR instead of Red Mountain. Like our customers were.
Yeah, they were abbreviating it already.
They already
And so
abbreviating.
the 4x4 was just to get the website, and the domain that hadn't been taken. And so we were going to, for probably 24 months, we're, Red Mountain Motor Company and Red Mountain this and,
Red Mountain Trading.
we're trying to think of all these names. And in the meantime, we're doing business as RMR 4x4. And in that time, it just kind of started to take off a little bit when we moved over to in our first building over here. And, for us, when you go to some of these dealerships and you are trying to buy a car, in particular something that's kind of a lifestyle, vehicle, where you're going to use it, and it's like somebody going to Alabama Outdoors or Mountain High. It's one of those things that you wanted the people there to sort of represent, like the lifestyle that you're going to want to portray when you're purchasing this car.
Right.
And a lot of these guys were selling like, Volkswagens 6 months prior to this and didn't know anything about a Land Rover or, a Toyota Land Cruiser or any of the cars that we were interested in. And so it was something about for us when we go buy these cars, like we would go to this Land Rover dealership in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and every single one of their sales guys had like drift boats on the back of their Discoveries and LR3s. And they could talk the product. They knew the car. They knew the capabilities of the car. And so for us, we think that it really worked because we were using these cars for what they were intended to, to be used for.
Yeah.
We were going camping and fly fishing and getting off the beaten path. And so I think in the beginning that sort of translated into a trust in the product. And so, it was kind of so we started sort of wanting to brand that to where, hey, not only do we sell these, but we drive them we've driven all this stuff. We've used them. We know what they're capable of doing, and so it kind of turned into a little bit of a branding thing.
Yeah.
Where you come in here to buy a car from somebody who's actually knows the car.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big deal in the beginning.
Yeah.
Totally.
Pre-kids.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't get to do
Pre-COVID.
Yeah. We don't get to do it as much as we used to, but I mean, we used to go just get in the car and drive and just have zero plan and end up, in Colorado fly fishing for 3 days.
Yeah. That's so sick.
When
did y'all bought a building or had a building space somewhere over here you referred to,
Yeah.
and then y'all have ended up here now?
Yeah, so we started out in
On 2nd Avenue.
on 2nd Avenue. There was a really cool building with a slate roof, and it really on brand, but it was really small. You could only park like 10 or 15 cars out front, and we tried to buy that building, and it didn't work out, and so we ended up getting this building where Mywell
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we were
Fourth
there
Avenue.
for 10
From
years.
2010 to 18.
Yeah, 8
So-
years.
Did y'all do the Land Rover auto body shop that's like on the? Isn't there like one that's like 4 doors down across the street? It's like a European body shop. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that does Mercedes.
Oh, okay.
Mercedes
I thought-
mostly.
There used to be a lot of really cool like old mechanics and body shops that specialized in Land Rovers and older stuff, and that's almost completely gone away.
Yeah,
I
really.
mean, it's like nobody really wants to do much of the body work on the older stuff unless they're like a classic restoration shop that charge you $25,000 to paint a car. But so when we tried to buy that building because we really wanted to own our building, and the guy that we were renting from he doesn't sell. And so he wanted to go up on our rent, and we were like, before we start paying, this higher rent, let's just see if we can find a building. And then this building came up for sale, and so I drove by and I was like, I think we should buy that building.
Yeah.
And Sean's like, man, I don't know, man. Like, just pay the rent. Well, I started to inquire about it, and it was under contract.
Okay.
And so, like a month or two goes by, and the real estate guy calls and says,
think it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It was
He goes, you
Christmas
guys
Eve,
still
yeah.
interested in that building? The buyer backed out.
Yeah.
And they had already done like the phase 1 and phase 2. So I mean but
it worked out
so
perfectly.
it worked out great.
And so we ended up buying this building, coming over here, and it kind of, the visibility from the,
From 280-31 Highway.
Expressway,
is really good, and the property came with 4 or 5 other properties they owned.
Yeah.
Came with the purchase, and so we it was just one of those things that owning the building and actually seeing the ownership and paying down a mortgage and having some equity and versus
there's
just
definitely a
paying.
value to like owning your business rather than renting it, and and you look back. I mean, I wish we would have done it, a lot sooner, but there would have been other complications if we did it sooner. It just the way it worked out, I think is pretty unique. But the difference in just on the business side and of owning where you work is huge. I mean, there's just so many benefits that you just can't even I don't know if the word quantify is the right word, but like
unforeseen benefits.
It's and so pre-COVID, we just did Land Rovers. Occasionally we would have a Land Cruiser or two, and we would have maybe a Sprinter van, G-Wagon here and there, like the 4-wheel drive Sprinter vans. But then when COVID hit, the supply of the Rovers dropped so dramatically. It kind of forced us to
and I've always been a Toyota guy.
Yeah.
He's kind of been the Land Rover guy. Like if I was the FJ40 and the cool older cruisers, and he was the old Range Rover County and
Ferrari Pro Sangue just pulled into the drive.
And so and stuff like this. I mean, this Ferrari just pulled up. I mean, in doing this, we've acquired so many great customers.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that may have bought that weird, unique Land Rover from us in the past that we built a relationship with, and now we're their guys that they say, hey, go find me this, or can you buy me this? And so that's a big part of our business. We still have a little bit of the wholesale side where our trade-ins and some other dealers will call us on trade-ins that we specifically do well in. And so we've got sort of a customer that will always do business with us, that we buy their cars for them. We've got trade-ins from other dealers, and then we have our retail, the stuff that we have here that we're just selling. And we just, the thing, at the end of the day, we're just a pre-owned car dealership. We don't do a lot of the build-outs that some of the, Southern Off-Road and some of these other companies do. And we've kind of always believed, like, if we're going to do a build out, let those guys do it for us. Yeah. And, that they're good at that, and they've got the tools and the client, the personnel to do it. But we've always just kind of wanted to take a truck like a current Land Rover or Toyota and just put tires on it, do a little small lift, and call it a day. Kind of like we call it like stock plus.
Yeah. OEM plus.
Yeah, OEM plus,
we're not, if somebody comes in, they're like, man, I want to put some like aftermarket wheels and some spacers and, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
I was going to say, also you start dealing with liability of work you did and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering about y'all dealing with higher end cars like that too, because I've seen y'all have Ford GTs and Lamborghinis and crazy cars come through here. Have y'all thought about moving in that direction more at all, or is it kind of just whatever customer?
Yeah,
it's a lot of overhead.
It's just
you can have $5 million in cars in a hurry.
Yeah.
Where I can have 10 Land Cruisers and a couple Range Rovers and some newer body Defenders, some old body style Defenders, and really, and just kind of keep it more with what is our lane.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes when you get out of your lane, and being in our lane has really helped us in some of the downturns in the economy.
Yeah.
And some people say, man, what happens if the economy goes down? Well, people stop buying $150,000 Range Rovers and they start buying $40,000 Range Rovers.
Yeah.
Or
still, it's kind of like, medical industry. People are always going to get sick. People are always going to need a ride. And that's one thing, through, post-pandemic, I think that, in the car industry, the biggest thing that was depreciating of vehicles was time, where now time is not even a factor. It's really just mileage. And if the cars are sitting here, especially like the Toyotas and a lot of the stuff we have, we try to like let our inventory have a guardrail or hedging, we're hedging our inventory as far as where it could, if most, I would say if not all of our inventory sat here for a year, it'd be worth more.
Right. That's one of the craziest things about the car world in the last couple of years. Like,
it's great.
This Land Rover right here is 2 years old. I think it's delivery mileage, if I was looking at y'all's website right.
Yeah.
And it's not lost a cent. If not, it's gained value.
And the thing about it is, like, that's like one of 12.
Yeah.
You know? And there's a guy out there.
Land Rover right there is?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the thing is, like, if you really try to, there is that sort of, in your inventory, you want to have that sort of nucleus of stuff that's turning over pretty quickly.
Sure.
Where you can sell 30, 40, 50 a month. And that's another thing. We kind of set it up to where none of our guys work on commission.
Yeah.
You don't
that's awesome.
You don't come in here and
feel
get,
that,
hammered for the car that's about to turn 90 days old. And,
that was one of our questions we were going to ask. So to give you a question to kind of open up that door a little bit more. I mean, a lot of dealerships are garbage. Like they make you feel terrible, make you feel stupid.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I'm like kind of scared to go to them.
Yeah.
I'd rather get like risk being murdered on Facebook Marketplace
Yeah.
10 days out of the week.
Join the crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to call dealers for our clients sometimes to purchase a car, and it is absolute misery.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's gotten worse.
And the thing about it is these dealers, lately the inventory's been such to where they haven't really had to sell or treat their clients, to in a way to where they're earning their business.
Right.
It's almost like they're making you feel like you're lucky that you get to purchase this car.
Yeah.
And so, and that's been since COVID. And, we have a lot of our customers that they'll say, man, I'll pay you just to go
Deal
for me.
with them.
Deal. Yeah.
for me not have to do. And in the beginning, we really wanted to create an experience when you come here. We usually would have a fire going and, maybe some music on and,
dogs,
if somebody wanted to get an adult beverage, it's just a different environment where, there's some of the dealerships now where, it is just exhausting. And you're there for 4 hours.
Like, do you think that it would be like financially advantageous, or is it just like an ego thing? Like, why do you think they choose to do it that way?
I do think there's certain people that want to go and do that, but that's another thing that
that's the way they're trained.
Well,
sure.
But I also think that there's certain things about our business, and we didn't do this on purpose, but there was a time when we were doing just the Land Rover products to where if you would go buy a car from like a pre-owned dealership and you were buying a high-end car, it was a little bit like, I guess you couldn't go and afford the car at Land Rover X, but for some reason we were able to create a situation to where if you had a car with our RMR tag on it that came from here, it had just as much clout as going to a franchise dealership. And probably because, we make our cars perfect. We go over and beyond where a lot of these dealers, you're buying a used car and they're like, you get what you get.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't pitch fit.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
just throw their
no warranty.
No
man,
warranty.
we tried to buy a Land Cruiser a few months ago from a dealership around here, and we went and looked at it, and it had the bumper was misaligned, the wheels were, the tires were mismatched, there were curb wheels, dents all over it, and one of my guys goes to pick it up, and he's like, we're gonna need an adjustment because we're gonna have to spend $5,000 on this car to get it to where it's meets our standards.
Right.
And the guy's like, man, this is a used car, and that's the mentality that a lot of these guys have. Even though the guy's gonna spend $85,000 to $100,000 on a 21 Land Cruiser,
Right.
It's like, dude, you got to make that car, represent reflect the price that these people are paying.
Yeah.
And so, if you get a car from us, we do about as good a job as anybody is making sure that they're mechanically sound and that cosmetically you feel like you're getting in as, a new a truck as it can possibly be.
Right.
And there's some people that are price shopping. They're trying to buy the cheapest car on the market, and there's people that are,
that
always,
car's cheap for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very.
And typically
rare.
we try to, we used to be so price driven.
Yeah.
To where it's like we wanted to be the cheapest one out there and still do that.
Yeah.
And we learned pretty quickly that, to have a product that has the standards that we have, like you just, unfortunately, it costs money.
Well, the guy that sorts it by this is what I want, I'm going to sort it by price, lowest first. We would rather have the guy that sorts it by lowest mileage first,
Right.
And so, and you get that guy and you have that car and it is a good deal and it is worth what you're selling it for. but the guy's thinking that he's getting a perfect car that just happens to be cheaper than everyone out there by just by luck. And it's like, no, this car, is $5,000 cheaper than everything else out there for a reason. And so there was always this battle, and it's like, look, I would rather buy a car that you pay good money, that has is a no apologies. You don't have any downtime to get it up, or as little downtime as possible. I mean, that you can turn it a lot faster. So that's
and also, I've got some friends and clients that'll call a dealership and they're like, "Well, we can't sell to you. We're only going to sell to our territory." And I'm not talking about a new car that's very specific. That some of the manufacturers put those restrictions on dealers.
Right.
I'm talking about a used car that they're just like, we're holding out for our market.
Yeah.
And I mean, somebody can call me from anywhere, and if they want to buy a car, we'll sell it to them.
Yeah.
And I don't care, if you want to put in your business name or it just
Montana
it's crazy.
LLC.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
so I was trying to.
There's I guess
Montana
we should
loophole.
explain. There's a tax loophole where you can buy a car and register it in a
Yep.
couple of different states where you don't have to pay
There's
sales
companies
tax.
that will set that up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's some guy working it from like a UPS store PO box
Yeah, yeah,
situation.
just nothing.
So all that came about because California was looking at whenever you buy a car, you only pay taxes on the difference. So say you've got a $50,000 trade
In most places.
in about 47 states, and you got a $20,000 trade, you're buying a $50,000 car, you're paying taxes on 30. So California's like, gosh, if we just if we just did it to where the trade didn't come off and you paid taxes on the car, think how much more revenue we would have as a state. Well, they didn't, they didn't think that like people are going to figure out a way. So
Especially in California.
So you
Yeah.
go to California now, like, I would say their revenue is down since they've taken that,
Yeah.
where you only pay
no one
tax
there
on the
has a
difference.
California license
Nobody in
plate.
California has
Yeah.
a California tag. Everybody has a Montana tag.
And most of our big car guys, like, that are, successful,
Collecting. Yeah.
that have multiple cars, usually are like, we're going to register this in
Yeah, the other
Montana.
thing too, it's like you buy a $400,000 car.
Yeah.
That's what, 10%,
Yeah.
7% sales tax. Like that's
Most
thousands
states,
of
yeah.
dollars.
Yeah, and in the industry itself's changed. You got Bring a Trailer and some of these other, sites, and I do think that there's a guy that wants to buy it from there.
Yeah.
And so like a guy buys a Land Cruiser from a site like that, they usually get hit with like 5 or 6% on top of that sale. So
Yeah.
if they buy a $100,000 Land Cruiser that they could have bought from someone like us, they have a car that they could trade in, they can't utilize that tax savings. So
Right.
they're paying an extra $5,000-$6,000 on top of the purchase to that company for the selling fee, or their buying fee. And then they're also losing out on the opportunity to trade in a car. We facilitate all transportation on, if they have a trade, getting it to their doorstep. Also, you're not worrying about that guy having a payoff at his local credit union that he hasn't
Yeah.
paid off, and he's wanting you to, wire $100,000 so you can pay his car. It's just, there's so many things that it may not, that guy may not care about that, but there may be a guy that is really looking forward to taking advantage of the full picture.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I think there's some guys that just want to purchase the way it's kind of exciting to them.
Sure.
And then there's some guys that are just like, we trust you guys. We know that you guys are selling a really quality product, and it's just going to like pushing the easy button.
Yeah.
I think
So.
I'm really curious. I want to double click in on something else here. But okay, so we're both like kind of late 20s right now. We're trying to figure out how to do this whole be an adult but also be a person, and that's like that has hobbies and interests and stuff. So I feel like one of the things that we admire most about this place is y'all cultivate kind of this perfect workplace environment from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But y'all are also like good businessmen, and it seems like y'all kind of pursue excellence in that sort of thing too. So how do y'all kind of like yin and yang? How do y'all hold both of those at the same time? Because you've shared with us now that you've kept a business open through the recession and the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
Selling luxury cars.
Yeah, and you're like, you kind of talk about them like kind of like funny, but it's like a little fondly too. So anyways, I would love to just hear how y'all do that.
Some of it, I mean, for me, I mean, if you always have that where you're trying to strive to do the right thing, Birmingham, just like most towns, but I think especially Birmingham is such a small town. So like if the situations where, you kind of go over and beyond and step back, and then there's we've done the right thing, in a situation so many times, over and over again to try to, that's gone over and beyond and hurt our personal, pocketbook to try to make a situation right. And then like even the y'all's name, like word of mouth. I mean, for us, I mean, we were lucky that we're in an industry where it's not really hard to be successful if you're just a decent human being.
Sure.
Right? So.
And I think that goes for anything.
Yeah.
I think nowadays, if you're a plumber or a roofer or a painter, anything, if you're like want to do the right thing, you do a really good job, you communicate with your client, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even get a plumber to call me back right now. I mean, it's just one of those things that we've entered into this, sort of world where it's, it just, you've lost that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think that as long as you have respect for your clients and you try to do the right thing and you love what you do, it just, it kind of one of those things, if you love what you do, you don't, you're not really working. That's kind of true. I mean, it's still, this business is a grind. I mean,
it's not for everybody, but it just fits our personality really well.
Yeah.
I think, like y'all's name, like I said, like word of mouth, I think that people come in here, have a great experience, and then they're like, hey man,
talk about it.
Gosh, like you can send your daughter and your wife down there, and
I've brought my family here before just to show them the place.
And then we try to have like that little bit of like that historical side, a little museum-esque, some unique cars that you don't see everywhere that can kind of be, stand apart from just that really like normal everyday dealership.
Nothing makes us happier than going to Telluride or one of our favorite towns that we're going to experience like an adventure for ourselves and seeing a couple
RMR
of our tags.
Oh,
Or friends that are in.
I didn't think about that.
We had a friend that was somewhere pretty cool recently, and he's like, this car was parallel parked out in front of, this cool old town, and it had one of our trucks, and he's just like, go live it.
Yeah.
But
even when we went, when they released, Land Rover released the Defender in 2020, they had that 4x4 festival in California, and it was really cool because we went to the release and the party and like had the VIP kind of experience.
Oh, cool! They like invited you out for it.
Yeah, and they had like a heritage, kind of like a heritage section, and in that heritage section, I think, out of like the 5 or 6 cars they had brought, like 3 of them had come from us.
Wow. No way.
Yeah, which was a really cool experience. And that was fun. And then,
I think it's really cool too, just hearing your story. So Myers is definitely like the car guy out of the two of us, and he knows like everything about RMR because like he's like y'all know he's been here like a million times. But I didn't even know what RMR stood for. Like I showed up and I was like, I know that they like fix up like Land Rovers, but like what is this place? And he told me it was a dealership, and I was like, oh okay. Yeah, so this has been so cool hearing about all this. But one of the things that I think is like fascinating about y'all too is y'all accidentally found yourself at the beginning of the internet, and that's like an unbelievable gift in this whole thing. And then 2, y'all with the internet, I think I learned this whenever I was doing my business minor, but marketing like changed a ton since 2000, where you don't sell a product, you sell like a feeling, an emotion, and that kind of started like throughout a whole bunch of things. But that is so cool that y'all kind of tapped into that so like at the perfect time.
Yeah.
It sounds
And
like.
it wasn't something like we went into it thinking like,
Sure.
oh, we're going to create this environment to where it feels a little bit more legitimate, when you
Sure.
come in here. I just think it's just kind of who we are. We were using the trucks for what they were intended to use for. We were going and going on adventures and doing that sort of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And bringing it to trying to sell a car.
Yeah.
And for us, it's still work,
Sure.
We're having to go and like resource every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're unfortunately we're not a manufacturer that gets inventory on a truck that comes in every day.
Mm-hmm.
So that part of it is probably one of the harder parts of our business, is just making sure that we're always constantly having the inventory here and having to find it and locate it. And we've kind of gotten to the point now where people will just call us now and just say, hey, I've got this car. Would you guys be interested in purchasing it? Because we just left the dealership and, we think they kind of hit us a little light.
Yeah.
And so, the way we bring in inventory and everything, it's been 20 years in the making of how we get cars and how we resource them. But just coming in here and trying to create an atmosphere to where it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And you feel like it's sort of on brand. And, but yeah, it's definitely, back to your question. I think a lot of people in our industry or in any business will go in and they'll just blow out like the marketing budget and
Sure.
All this stuff, and then it's got to work from day one, where we started out just one car, two cars, and just build it organically.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that if you can do that, then it's definitely, there's some magic there.
Yeah, kind of baby steps. There's things that I wish we took, a larger leap earlier, but I do think that, the risk is so much lower, with
Sure.
just kind of doing one step at a time and having a clear vision of like where you want it to go. I think our vision is, on personally is just, like I know for me growing up, it's like I just want to be able to like, not have to order water, and so it's not like a high goal.
I was gonna say, I told my college pastor when I was in school, I said I just want to be appetizer rich.
Yes.
So I don't have to
Yeah.
sweat about
Yeah.
ordering an
Yeah.
appetizer.
And then I think that just a lot of these dealerships get it wrong. Just as far as we stumbled on not trying not to be salesy, because we were doing Land Rovers only for so long, and there would be and every car would be different, and it would there would be this car that maybe was cool, but not maybe the most dependable of vehicles, and somebody would come in and you're just like, man, I just don't think that this is a right, we kind of bought this thinking it'd be a third car for somebody, or it'd be like a kid's 16-year-old car, and those people come in and you're just like, the more you're trying to tell them that car is not for them, they can't write the check fast enough. It's just like I'm.
Well, it's like I remember one time we had this
honest,
we had this young married couple, and they were super cool, and they'd just gotten married and starting their careers, and they were coming down to buy like an old Range Rover County, and they were taking like all their money out of their little nest egg, and I was like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you're going to need another half the price of the car to fix it in a year.
Land Rovers, the thing about a Land Rover is it is probably the best driving four-wheel drive. The fact that
Hands down,
and especially back in the day, to have that comfort in a full drive was unheard of.
Yeah.
And now you've got Tahoes and Yukons that are $115,000, and they're air ride and super comfortable. I don't know how capable they are, but you can get in a $250,000 Range Rover and it'll absolutely get it off road.
Yeah.
And so, in the beginning it was like we weren't trying to sell the car we had just because it was a sale. We really cared about it being the right car.
Yeah.
Fit.
And I even have customers call me now. They're like, "Hey man, looking for a car. You know, we've got 3 kids, and you know, I'm thinking about buying. And I'm like, you need to buy this.
Yeah.
Like, this would be perfect. It's, you know, go buy a Toyota 4Runner for your, you know, 16-year-old, not a, you know,
LR4 or
BMW
something.
X5.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's crazy that just some people just want a certain car for different reasons. And, you know, that goes back to also just, you know, not going into it trying to make a sale and a commission and really caring about putting them in the right car.
Going for that 10th sale, not a one and done.
Want to sell another car to them, you know, to their wife and to the next
wanting
door.
to be their dealer.
Their guy, yeah. And so that's what we you know, early on also we never necessarily had a shop or anything, but we also saw people get taken advantage of, you know, where they're getting it serviced, or, you know, and some of that wasn't necessarily like, you know, they're taking advantage of on just the people's knowledge of the vehicle, you know, not just being a crook. And so we wanted to help facilitate that. Well, that was kind of like that constant contact. You know, they were like calling us constantly about, like, you know, hey, it's time for tires, time for service, and just having that number, them saving your number in their phone on just the maintenance side and the maintaining the vehicle. And because, you know, when we started out doing Rovers, I mean, you honestly had to like bleed green to be a Rover guy. I mean, you had to, your personality had to be like, this is, you might, you know, break down on the side of the road at midnight, but then you might stumble upon, you know, some party in the woods and have a memory for a lifetime. And I mean, that's kind of like how the mindset of a lot of the Rover owners were, you know, early on in the early 2000s. And now, I mean, I'll put, you know, Land Rover up against any vehicle as far as, you know, dependability, but they, you know, they were such a
today
they've come a long way.
Well, it wasn't that, you know,
everybody.
their Land Rover is the Toyota of the world everywhere else. It was just that whenever they started bringing them to the U.S., they sold so few here, they wouldn't allow them to bring in the motors that were built for the vehicles.
I see, yeah.
So at the time, you know, like not.
I mean, they're like Ford motors.
Yeah, they didn't have like the TDIs.
So
BMW motors.
Buick was the one that
in
was
the
also
90s.
owned, because I think Daimler Chrysler, you know, owned them back in the 90s, and it was like, all right, who else what other car do we own that has already been through like the, you know, the EPA and DOT, and it will match up to this vehicle. And so they were like Buick motors fit perfectly.
Yeah.
They fit, but they didn't.
They weren't like good.
They weren't great engines.
Very good.
Yeah.
You know, so it really wasn't until they became like a legitimate U.S. design cars for the U.S. market, which I would say was probably, what do you think, 10?
Yeah, maybe before that, but
The 322, I feel like. Maybe.
You know, I think that when BMW was, you know, owned them is probably when they started kind of cleaning up a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Ford bought them, and then, you know, I think now they're owned by Tata.
Yeah.
But, you know, the cars now, you know, if a dealer's selling you a car and they're legitimate, I mean, and you have a problem with it down the road, 90% of the dealerships are, you know, they don't want that.
Yeah.
Sure.
They don't want that problem, you know. So it's just, unfortunately, they're a machine, and there's things on it that are going to break, and it's just part of owning it. And so, you know, that is a side of the business that's tough. You know, whenever you sell somebody anything. I mean, we've had Toyota Land Cruisers, you know, have issues for people. We've had Tundras that have engines that have blown,
That's crazy.
like 2 years after they own it, which typically most of the time those things are under warranty, but like it's across the board that cars have issues. It's definitely something that we've sort of learned, that there are different types of people out there. There are people that are like 2-3 years later, they come back and say, I had a problem with my car and we want you guys to be responsible for it.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's people that are like, man, that car lasted me 3 years and I had the best 3 years of my life, but transmission went out and I ended up trading it in, but you guys were awesome.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Sure.
Yeah.
You got just, it's, you
It
never
is.
know.
It is like so cool to hear y'all's perspective. There's one of our best friends in the world is this guy named David Bazilia. He owns a cafe down in Auburn or in Opelika called Sidetrack, and he talks about how whenever other people come to him, they're like, "Hey, I'm thinking about opening up a cafe. Like, what should I do?" He's like, invite people over for coffee at your house. And then whenever you outgrow your house, you should start a coffee shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like the best advice ever.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
so many people jump into the restaurant industry or coffee industry because they want this like, end goal, like this outcome.
Yeah.
And
They do $1 million build out on a building, and
Yeah.
it's just like,
it's like, you don't even know how to make a pour over, brother.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's like,
right.
what are you don't even know the difference in all this stuff. So I feel like that's kind of cool. And also we had True Vintage Guitar in downtown. Are y'all familiar with this company? We have we were completely unfamiliar with it until Brandon Loper, Golden Age Wine. Brandon Loper told us
Yeah.
about him, but
I think Trent told us.
Trent did.
Stewart.
Oh, okay.
Same.
Well,
Golden Age.
yeah.
Nice. Anyways, the True Vintage is one of the biggest resellers, like curators of vintage guitars in the world.
wow.
And this guy is like
Off Morris.
off Morris Avenue in downtown Birmingham, and he sells to people like all over the world. The most like not like $2,000 guitars, like $1 million
Yeah,
guitars,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
type stuff. And it was crazy how cool he was and how kind he was, and he like, it's kind of wild how much of a parallel y'all have to him.
See, that was why I kept telling him, I was like, I know guitars, but like, I played guitar in high school. I don't really know much anymore. But there's so many parallels with guitar
Guitars, yeah.
collecting and buying
Yeah.
and trading with cars that I just kept making
Yeah.
those parallels. I was like, I don't really know much about that guitar, but what you're saying is what I say about like Porsche 356s.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. I understand that
He was
now.
like the first ever guitar he flipped was kind of like he bought for his friend. His first client was his friend in high school, and he was like, he found this 1975 some sort of
Martin, I
Martin
think.
acoustic guitar, and he like sent it to his buddy. He was like, "Oh, this is such a like great idea. Good deal. You should get this one." And this was like in 2003. It was like around the same time, or 2006. Before guitars like shot up in value, and his buddy was like, "Oh no, like I like just wanted some, like I wanted you to tell me like what to go to Guitar Center and get like brand new."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Wait, like what do you even mean?" Like he didn't
Yeah.
even know.
Well, and if you
Um,
buy the right guitar or the right watch or the right car, there is something to be said about that value,
Yeah,
holding that value, because you have a unique something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, whether it's like a color combination or
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
When we first started doing the Land Rovers, we were able to see what the options were.
yeah,
And we go to the and buy the ones that had the like best options.
Yeah.
Where the dealers that were sitting there were just buying them just to have inventory.
Like say like back back in when we first got in the business, like if a car was a BMW, Mercedes, whatever, the trim level pretty much indicated like what the sticker cost was.
Sure.
Like if it was like an LTZ or an LT or
Right.
LS, it got to where with Rovers, and as that car has a book value, it's the same based on that trim level. Well, you can have an HSE Range Rover that stickers for with the same motor, same everything, same trim, one that stickers for 118 and one that stickers for 158.
wow,
So
and they do about the same thing.
and
on
the car
whole-
brings
on
the same
purchase.
car
Yeah.
money like at the sale, like because it's an HSE this mileage, and so we had so we could go in and see what that sticker cost was.
But there is a lot of parallels with guitars and watches in that industry.
Yeah.
yeah. Like if he would have listened to his buddy, and he could have played the guitar since then.
Yeah.
That guitar would be worth like
A lot
20
more.
grand
More
now.
than he
Yeah.
paid
It's
for
like
it, and
yeah.
got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we're thinking more about trims and colors and fun stuff, we have a few fun questions for
Okay.
you guys because the RMR4x4 is an unbelievable company. We've spent 70 minutes talking about that. We could spend a million more, but I feel like some of our listeners probably just kind of want to geek out with you for a little bit. So, Myers, do you want to take the reins? We have a few little segments here we want to go through.
So one of the things about owning your own shop, doing something that you love, is usually you get to have the best of the best stuff. So I was wondering, what stuff do you guys drive?
So when we first started, we used to fight about the Defender that would come in and who got to drive it. And
the most expensive car.
The most expensive, the coolest.
I'm going to dinner tonight with the wife.
I'm taking
I
my wife
need
to
the
dinner.
SV autobiography.
And like,
we're probably going to argue over that literally after this
and
episode.
so it's funny because it's one of those things to where I would say my favorite car to drive, even to this day, is probably like a Defender, a real Defender. I mean, when I get behind the wheel of a real Defender, not a resto mod, not a Frankenstein that somebody's put different motors, but like a real Defender that there's, it just, to me, it represents, like when I pull up to that valet or that coffee shop or to somewhere and I get out of it, that is sort of, for me, the
it is
epitome of like, this is me. Getting older and having kids and doing that kind of, it's not probably the best for that, going to the beach or whatever, but if I'm just hopping in something and I want to drive from work to home and sort of those little commutes, there's nothing better. And as far as the coolest car,
both drive like on a daily basis, like vintage, like we like the older, like a 90s, 2000.
He's a Range Rover County.
Range Rover County.
Yeah.
I love
am
Defenders,
not.
but every day I would drive a County back and forth, but I'm just going to work and back. But,
he loves it. If he could be in anything, if he ever found a 20,000 original mile, 95 long wheelbase County, he'd pay a lot of money for that car.
We've got a graveyard of Counties
because of him. One day we're going to be able to have like the perfect county with all the counties that he's
Y'all
gone
had
through.
an air suspension one a little while back, didn't you?
Yeah, I still have it. And that is my, like, if you see a guy that looks like he's oddly smiling driving down the road in a white County, it's me. But it's just, and what we have in that car is where we have it, because I think it's the last that I know of,
like survivor
of
Yeah.
the air suspension gut. It's still on factory air, but it's kind of like what I love about it is also it's Achilles heel. I mean, it is a problematic system, to say the least, and
they get
even
the
the
reputation for a reason.
Even the
90s,
knowledge of like people who know how that system works, are all gone and out of the industry. So like. So I'll get it dialed in. It'll run good for 6 months, and then it'll have like some weird light come on about the air suspension, and then just
That's the car that Ben Baum tried to buy.
Yeah,
was a Range Rover
like
County.
from you,
No,
or the yellow
he,
one.
The yellow one that he tried to buy.
Oh,
we had a friend who tried to
so
buy one,
tasty.
and he was like 17. Because he was like, "This is gonna be my project car."
What was it?
It was a Range Rover County.
No, what did he got the money wrong on it, like terribly bad.
Yeah, he made a deal with a guy to buy the car, but because he was like, I don't have any money. I'm a kid. Like I want this. I want this to be my project car, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he agreed on a number, and the guy shipped it up to him. The number that the guy had agreed on was the price for shipping. And the number that our friend
like
agreed
this-
on
it was like from,
he thought it was the price of the car.
He had shipped it to Birmingham from
It's like Miami,
the Florida
or something.
Keys.
Yeah.
It was like so far away.
Yeah.
But it was like sun, whatever that's called, like where the metal kind of like.
It was faded. It was
rusted up.
it was tough.
we call that patina.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was yellow.
So Kip, what are you driving?
So right now, I have a Defender 130 with the V8 in it. The new one.
Yeah.
And it's it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's got the Defender energy and vibe, but it's got the V8 that they put in the Range Rover, so it's like the perfect blend.
Yeah.
And it's the first. My wife drives that as well. It's our family car, and it's the first Land Rover to ever have second row captains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
20
Which
Yeah.
we really, I mean,
Yeah.
when you have kids,
we never
Yeah.
got to experience it because
Yeah.
our wives are always in Rovers, and so they came out with second row captains in 25 just in the 130, and so we both.
So that's what our wives drive.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of a tricky question because like
Right.
what we drive is usually what's pulled out last
Right,
at
yeah.
the lot. Right now, we traded in a Toyota Land Cruiser with 230,000 miles, and
So brand new.
Just,
this is what's crazy. This is why I love Toyota Land Cruisers. It's a 2017 with 230,000 miles, and I'm telling you, this Land Cruiser right here has 20 miles on it. It's a 2021 with 20 miles. It's probably the lowest mileage Land Cruiser in the country, and that car drives just as good as that car.
Yeah.
And there's something about jumping in a car like that. There's a freedom in like, I don't care where I park,
Yeah.
how tight it is, what ballpark you're at. Somebody, a little scratch or dent just makes it look better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where if I was in, that car, I would be on pins and needles.
Right.
Sure.
I'm just, and some guys can do that and they don't care. But for me, in being in the industry and knowing like what it costs to repair some of this stuff.
Yeah.
how much
I mean,
it affects the cost.
Yeah.
it's like, oh. So for me, there's something about driving that high mileage Toyota Land Cruiser, and it's got a Westcott leveling kit, which we put on 90% of our Land Cruisers, and it's got a bumper on the front. We put some BFG KO3s on it and called it a day.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guys are so happy because I typically would just get in something that was parked outside, and I've got 2 German Shorthair pointers and
Yeah.
kids that are playing ball, and my daughter's always eating animal crackers in the car, and so for them they're just like, thank God you got something you're going to be driving
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the car I'm driving right now.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Where do y'all keep your inventory at? Is there like another place on
Yeah,
in
we
this
have a
property?
warehouse
Yeah.
right here behind.
Oh,
There's a
sweet.
building behind
Cool.
here.
Can I go look at it
We
after?
can go on a
Yeah,
tour.
yeah. We'll do a little
That's
tour.
the cool
We should
thing
have
about
done that
this
first.
building is so many people walk in and
You're like, so you guys
and
have
so,
like
like,
4 cars for
so
sale?
where is it? And then you're like, and then it's like you get to walk them into the back,
Oh,
and
cool.
like you open those doors, and it's just usually like shock. Like,
Yeah.
like it just, you don't assume that there would be, like you don't think that
Yeah.
there's 60 cars behind you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
The
I had
first time I
literally no
came in
idea.
here, I don't remember who I talked to. I think it was one of y'all's sales guys. But I came in as probably an 18, 19-year-old just because I saw the cars parked out front.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love cars. And I walked in, and whoever he was, he like told me the whole story of how y'all started this place, walked me around, showed me all the cars. And it like blew my mind because from the outside, I just saw a couple cars parked out front. And then
Yeah.
I kind of peeked
Yeah.
in the window and saw this.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
That's so freaking cool. All right, we got another one for you. All right, so we do a little thing called 2-car garage, and we have these like scenarios. Do y'all listen? What's the podcast that you get this from?
There's a podcast I listen to obsessively, Chris Harris on Cars, or it's his friends doing a podcast. I think it's literally called Chris Harris and Friends or something.
Yeah,
like that.
are y'all familiar with this?
Nuh-uh.
Okay, well they do this scenario. Is this the scenario you want to do today?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so you own your own land surveying business. You just
I
landed a
guess- hang on, let me preface this.
Okay.
Basically, they come up with a hypothetical scenario and then pick out 2
Hypothetical.
cars that they would have if they were this person.
All
So
right.
sometimes it's like you're a rock star, you have all the money in the world.
Yeah,
but
money's
it's
no
the,
object. What would you
right.
own?
And
Yeah.
then sometimes it's like, okay, here's a specific scenario. You have this budget.
Okay.
Find a
Alright.
car.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so you own your own land surveying business. You just landed a huge contract with the Park Services, and your business is really starting to take off. You drive a beat-up old pickup truck, and you want to reward yourself for years of grinding you've done to build this business. You've got yourself a budget of $100K. You need 1 car for driving around town on the weekends and 1 for driving across the land for work. So you've got 1 for, like, kind of date night with your wife. You got 1 for your land, your work on the land.
And you can split
$100,000.
that money up however you want.
So driving across the country, I would probably $100,000. I mean, it's like nowadays, the cars nowadays are $100,000. You know,
That's fair. Yeah.
So the date night car
So
would
they need to be
probably
used.
be the date night car would probably be something vintage that I could just, that kind of, I would probably go with. I think you could probably get in a really cool Defender for 40, 50 grand now. Like a
All right.
80, 100,000 mile Defender, and then to drive across the country, I'd probably spend 50 grand on a Toyota Tundra.
What
That's
year?
a great answer.
I'd probably get like the hybrid V6. Just I mean, I'm a big fan of the 21.
Not a T100.
Well, that's my personal like. I'm pretending I'm a land surveyor. I probably need a truck.
Yeah.
Sure.
T100.
And it needs to drive across the country.
Well, that could be your drive over the park.
Yeah, I would do a Tundra. The 21s and even the like the 200 series, they drive across the country well, but you get 12 miles of the gallon.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the gas tanks are pretty small. So I would probably get in one of the new hybrid Tundras, like a TRD Pro, or like one of the nicer trim levels, and they have all the Apple CarPlay and all the stuff that you'd want. And again, we're working with a $100,000 budget. This isn't what I would go with if it was
right.
unlimited.
I have a little rabbit trail. I want to invite us down.
And so I would go with like a really cool color, like Lunar Rock, or something that's pretty
Did you do the
cool.
orange color?
I would do. So they did an Octane, which was like orange,
Yeah.
and then the next year they did like a terracotta.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that terracotta is
Terracotta's pretty cool.
pretty sick.
Yeah.
And
It looks really good in person.
Yeah.
Better in person.
But
than
I would do
pictures.
a TRD Pro Tundra, with the new hybrid motor, and probably something like a cool vintage Defender around town for date night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Boy,
would
that
probably
works so
do
nice.
like a Gen 1 4Runner or like an OBS, like a 97 7.3,
Yeah.
Ford F-250 with that square. And so that'd probably be in anywhere in that.
You going on date night with that?
Yeah, top down.
Driving around sounds like an airplane.
Yeah.
With the 7.3.
I mean, just like I'm thinking about the profession, and
I mean, you're picking that up for 25 grand.
that would be my weekend.
Yeah.
I'm kind of changing it to like that'd be my fun weekend, maybe
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
back and forth to work, and then spend the other 50, 60 grand would probably be I
I
think
think
as
you got
new
more
as I
money
could.
than that.
If you do an OBS, it's probably
OBS
20,
is-
25.
Yeah,
I would
well, we
guess.
sold the last OBS for 35
I
grand.
think you got 70, 75.
So, well, I would do a new body Defender. So, like as new as I could get. Like right now, I mean, I think.
It's like 100 plus. So.
No, they're not. I mean, like a new body Defender in a 2020 is probably 50 grand.
Oh, okay.
Like it doesn't have to be a new car. does
Sure,
it?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're talking about- yeah. So, or even like a you could get in like the first year of the 130s, which, is what 2023, and you can
And
get
you're a
one of
land
those.
surveyor, so just remember that.
Well, it'll go wherever. I mean, that's the cool thing about Defenders is
Sure.
the money that Land Rover is put in to like research and development into these cars being capable, and being able to go anywhere. People don't even have a clue. 99% of the people who drive them have no idea what that car is capable of.
Yeah.
Like we competed in the trophy event through Land Rover, and
Which is what these trucks are for.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
and so and you were this was the one that they had in the Southeast, was held at the Biltmore Land Rover Experience,
Oh, cool.
and it you got a car for doing it, but the car that you did the event with was not the car that you were going to own, and so I mean it was like
let it eat.
like it's like a rental car,
Right.
a rental car to go off roading
Right.
and just give it hell. And
Wow.
like the stuff that we put those cars through would just shock you. Like
Yeah.
it's so capable. And so so you could get a 2022, which is the first year of the bigger nav screen, which I really like, with third row seat, 110 for probably 55, 60 grand, and then spend the rest on
The land survey thing kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get in character here. For me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the rabbit trail. I think that's one of the craziest things about this whole. I don't know. I just think like new generation of car, but also like what you're saying with. I think you're tapping into it a little bit when you talk about the $230,000. Like Land Cruiser, or sorry, 230,000 mile Land Cruiser, or like the untouched, unmodified old Defender. I think like technology in these cars is like really weird, and when you talk about the timeless nature of them, do you think like I'd love to just hear y'all's thoughts on like, do you think that Apple CarPlay will actually work in 50 years when these cars are 50 years old? And then also preferentially, do you like an old Defender's like kind of radio pop in whatever or would you rather have an Apple CarPlay?
I have customers now that could buy whatever they want, and they're buying $150,000 Toyota Land Cruisers with low miles from us because they don't want that stuff. And the cars now, I mean, you can't even use half the stuff in these cars without doing some sort of subscription or signing up for their what I mean, like the new GMCs, which are fantastic. I mean, the new Denali's are really comfortable. They're really great trucks and SUVs, but you can't even use some of their stuff until you sign up for their, whatever. Subscribe
Wi-Fi
to their
thing or whatever,
their. One of the cool features on the new was their self-driving that they have,
like the Super Cruise.
and you can't get it without calling and getting sort of subscribed to that. I know somebody was telling me the other day that like
Really?
Volkswagen and Porsche have this thing where you can't use half the features without having a subscription to their whatever their service is.
Yeah.
And so I just I think it's going to be probably the generation that's coming up that's going to be a norm, but I do think that there's going to be that guy that's didn't grow up with that automation and subscription and giving them your information that are always going to be sort of gravitated towards less technology. And that car is probably like the 200 series, and some of those cars are probably one of the last you could make it a daily and enjoy it and hit the road and it be a dependable driver without having that stuff.
Without, I mean, these new cars, I mean, if the manufacturer wanted to, I mean, they can like shut it down, I mean, just make it where it's like, oh, well, we're going to restrict, like even some people thought like during like COVID, like, hey, if they really wanted to restrict like how far you went, they could just turn your car off where you can't drive it. And I know a lot of that stuff is kind of conspiracy theory, but it's the capability is there. So a lot of folks,
that's weird. I've never thought about that.
Yeah. We've got a lot of folks that like, even like EMP doomsday preppers, like want like, a car with a carburetor to get to their farm because, fuel injected won't work, like EMP. And so we deal with all different kinds and like with the solar flares, with people calling in like, I'm worried about these solar flares, that are coming and and then you'll like you won't know what they're talking about and you'll go Google it and you're like, oh God, why did I Google
You're
that?
like, for
Talk about a rabbit hole.
That's a rabbit hole. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. There's a Tesla that was way underneath the market price a few years ago that I went and test drove. That was on like Pinson Valley Parkway, where the super cheap used car lots are, where I buy my cars from. Now I felt increasingly more and more stupid for doing that my whole life throughout this podcast episode. But anyways, I went up there and they Tesla from like a corporate level had turned off its ability to like supercharge or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And there's not, at least from what I could find in like the dark world of Reddit. There's not a way to switch it back. Like there's not
No.
even like a black market for how you can switch it.
Tesla's, I mean, the thing that's Tesla that's difficult for us to sell them, because we've traded in a ton of them,
Yeah.
is you call Tesla and say, like, hey, what was the original MSRP and what was the equipment that was on it? And they're like, we can't give you that information. I'm like, well, I'm a dealer that owns it. And they're like, too bad.
And
you know, you're like, what does it have? The supercharged capability, is it autopilot? And it's like that's the only thing, is like you're calling some, 1-800 number.
Yeah.
Because there's not like usually a Tesla dealership. Even
Yeah.
when you buy it, if you call them, they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then some of the stuff, like some of the autopilot stuff is like built into the window sticker, and some of it is like the autopilot's because the guy paid like $8,000
Yeah.
grand
Oh,
for the
yeah.
subscription, and then he
It's like,
goes
does
and
it stay with
sells
the
it,
car, or
and then
does
he's
it?
like, yeah, it's
Right.
got autopilot, it's got this, it's got that, and you're like, oh, great. So you're like, you put a number on it, and then you go and sell it to somebody, and you're like, yeah, it's got autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go and they're like, use it the first time, and they're like, hey, this there's no autopilot, and you call them, they're like, oh yeah, well that guy had autopilot, he actually paid for it, it didn't come with that car, and you're just like,
Huh.
how am I supposed to?
What a
this
mess.
is like a landmine,
Yeah.
like
Try to figure it
navigate
out.
this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But even like I think there was like I don't know, I think it was like Hurricane Michael or something. We had people who had Teslas, and because of the evacuation, like they went
Yeah.
to all of them and like up the range by like 200 miles or something per car by like flashing it, just so people could get out of to
Whoa.
evacuate. And so there's all kinds of like crazy things that can be like modified.
Wait, they
and
made the
controlled.
range longer
Yeah,
on
longer. Yeah, like
That's
they
crazy.
Like
I
we
hadn't
like,
heard of that.
and so we bought
Is that
a-
another conspiracy theory?
No.
Did you learn that when you were digging down?
Sean's been on
No.
Twitter
No.
this morning.
Yeah.
Dude, that's nuts.
Was
that
your
is
solar
super
Did you
weird.
say something about Reddit? No, but
You
no.
read
This
it
was
on the
we
internet.
bought.
It
we
is
bought,
true.
We bought a low range, or what do they call like the?
The 85.
Yeah, I think it was
The
80.
85?
It was 85. It was a red. Remember the red 85? And it was the people lived down in Key West, and so when we got it up here, it was like it had like long range capability. And he's like, oh yeah, I don't know when they're going to turn it off, but Tesla changed that for us like during the evacuation.
Huh.
And I was like, oh, that's
What?
insane. Yeah, so like they all must come with the same like capability and
Yeah, and then they
battery,
just software on or off.
software
It
on
makes
or
sense.
off,
I
yeah.
guess it's like a safety feature, but still, like that feels so like, for lack of a better term, anti-American, like anti-constitutional or something
Well,
like that.
I'll tell you another thing that's super weird nowadays in the car industry that's like anti-American, almost feels bizarre, is you'll go into these dealerships and buy a Cadillac Escalade
Yeah.
or a Porsche 911. And recently I was at a Porsche dealership purchasing a 911, and they came in. I had the check, worked out price. It was one of my dream cars, and they told me that I couldn't purchase the car unless I signed something saying I would not sell this car for a year.
Yeah.
And if I did, I had to trade it back into them. And I told them they could take a hike. I was like, if I'm spending a lot of money on a Porsche 911, why do you care if I burn it in my front yard?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to go. I know they're trying to protect the export market, but the only thing that people flipping cars and exporting cars and turning around and selling them for more money has done is created a situation where the cars are sold and people want them even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you
Gives
think
an
that these
opportunity to
guys?
be bad at your job?
That's
Yeah,
why
I
that's
mean-
why the GT3 Touring exists, is because they made the 911R. They came out last manual 911 whatever, sold them for like 300 grand. Immediately the market said this is $1 million car, and they were like, oh, okay,
Oh,
I guess
yeah, wait.
people actually want this. We'll
Right.
start making them again.
Well, and it's like the Dakar. Like Sean was on a list
Yeah.
for Dakar at the local Porsche dealer here.
Out of deposit.
He put a deposit on everything. Comes in, they're like, "We're going to charge 100 grand over," and didn't tell him that when he put his deposit down.
Huh.
And they're kind of we sell everything for sticker dealership,
Yeah.
and sprung that on him. And
I think they were gonna sell it to me. They probably wouldn't have any problem selling it to me. But somebody called and was like, "Hey, are y'all getting a car? Oh yeah, we've had a deposit on that for 2 years, a year, or whatever, and the guy's like, well, is he willing to pay 120 grand over? And they're like, well, let me call him and find out.
That sucks.
So yeah, so
they kind of but to me, going back
love
to
that car, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite.
So cool.
Yeah.
But it's just, talking about un-American, I mean, it's just crazy to me that, these dealerships care, like, who buys it.
Like, who is
Yeah.
it that is cared? Like, if all we're doing is making it to where the cars are selling faster, like, who is this person who cares about it?
Yeah.
Like,
And it's funny. It's,
I don't know. I don't know.
So the other day I called this Lexus dealership in Orlando,
Uh-huh.
and they had a Toyota Land Cruiser on there, and it was something that was a pretty good buy. And I was like, hey, I want to purchase your Toyota Land Cruiser you have listed online. They're like, okay. And you talk to somebody for half the day. They can't sell you the car. They're just trying to get information. And you're like, can I leave you a deposit? Can I purchase this car? Yeah, sure. And then they flip you over to somebody else that, takes another 3 or 4 hours to get information. And so finally, after like 2 days, you actually get a salesperson.
Yeah.
And so we agree on a price. I think I was paying literally what they were asking for it. And I said, I just want you to put it in my company name. And it's a pre-owned vehicle. And they're like, well, we don't wholesale to dealers. I was like, I'm not asking you to wholesale to dealers is like you selling it for some wholesale price.
Right.
I'm paying what you're asking for online plus your dock fee. I'll handle transportation. I just want you to put it in my company name.
Yeah, which is not uncommon. Many people buy.
I was like, what
vehicles.
if I was a church or or some sort of nonprofit that
Yeah.
And the reason why we'd want to purchase it in our company name is because we don't have to pay sales tax because we're a car dealership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't get the sales tax. Like I don't. It's crazy that the number of dealerships
Yeah.
that are like, we don't wholesale. I'm like, I don't want you to wholesale it. I want you to sell it as a retail transaction. Pay your salesperson the commission that they're going to get for selling it full price. Charge me your dock fee, whatever
crazy.
you do. And it is.
Did they budget all whenever you asked them?
This is a post-COVID thing. If I had made that phone call before COVID, they would put it in Mickey Mouse's name and not care.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And it's
Nuts.
and then you sit there and argue with them for 30 minutes about wholesale versus retail.
And the thing about it, at the end of the day, the revenue that they'll generate for that car is the same whichever way they do it.
Sure.
So like that's the thing that doesn't matter. It's like is your city councilman come and say, hey, we really need some revenue for West Palm. We're gonna kick you back. Like it just makes no sense.
care,
Like why at the end of the day, I mean, if somebody's buying a car from me, I mean, it's less work for me to sell it out of state than in state. Like, there's a lot of back end stuff, like as far as with the taxes and sending the taxes to the state and collecting it, sending it on the 20th, and so. If I had to choose between those two situations, I'd rather sell to somebody out of state.
Well, we had a silver Toyota Heritage that I bought brand new from one of the Toyota dealerships here, and I sold it to one of my friends. He traded it back in, and I sold it to a guy here locally. And it's just a car that was one of my favorite cars, and he wanted us to find him a car. He ended up just being all over the place and went to the BMW store here and traded it in. So I called them. They're like, no, we can't wholesale to dealers. And I was like, I'll pay what you're asking for the car. So this guy buys it out of Huntsville, drives it for a year. I'm on Auto Trader, and I see it at the BMW store in Huntsville. And I know the owner, and I'm like, hey man, I really want this car. Yeah, we're gonna hold out and retail this thing. I'm like, I'll pay what you're asking for the car. Yeah, thanks for your offer, but we're gonna retail it.
Just see if you can get me.
And it's just I can't imagine that guy calling me and saying, hey, I used to own this car. I'll buy it for. I'm not even asking for a discount because I'm a dealer and because we have a relationship. I will pay your full asking price, and I say, no, we're going to retail it. I'm like, what is the difference?
I work in sales, and so much of sales training is get out of the way of the customer saying yes.
100%.
Like just
They must.
funnel them down,
They
funnel them
must.
down.
Dude, but every time a dealer does that, and every time it takes me 3 days to get somebody that can actually sell me a car, or, with us dealing with them, I'm just like, this is part of our success.
Genuinely.
Could you like file a monopoly lawsuit on them? Like that's like,
Just
like
it's
what is their
discrimination.
what is
Yeah.
their motive
You know?
there?
Yeah.
Like that's
It's like-
super. Like that's to keep their money
So,
in their pocket.
I will say
your
this,
business
the
works.
which if you called them and said, I'll take it for what you're asking,
I'll
and
do
you-
it
and
next
you
time. By
didn't
the
buy
way,
one,
just like call me.
Yeah.
I'll
and you
like.
didn't finance and you didn't buy one, they would sell it to you.
Yeah.
But in their mind, they have been so trained that like a dealer to dealer is a wholesale deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it wouldn't surprise me if some of these dealers, and this has happened, go back and mark it up another 10 grand, because they cannot stand the fact that they feel like because they're selling it to a dealer that they're leaving money on the table. It's just it's crazy.
Because they know that if you buy it, you're implying that you're going to sell it for more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where the ego.
It's
That
like more of
makes
an
a little bit
ego
more
thing.
sense.
Yeah,
100%. And they don't want. They just it's like this. They don't want you to have something that you could then turn around. It's like they do not want other people to make money. They don't want people to flip cars. It's just this. But back to what you're saying, if I'm asking, 150 grand for this Land Cruiser, and you bought it, and you put that car right there, would probably bring 180 to 200 grand on Bring a Trailer.
Yeah.
But it's just for us. If I could sell that and put somebody in a 20-mile Land Cruiser and they're buying it for the right reasons, like, I don't care,
Sure.
And that's our best marketing tool. Right now is somebody goes and searches 21 Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
They sort it by mileage. Nothing will be lower than that car.
Yeah.
So they might
That's
call,
actually
they're
so
going to
true.
call on that car, and it is for sale. But
A lot of traffic.
the chances of even I think a few months back we had a 500-mile 21 Land Cruiser and a 100-mile 21 Land Cruiser, and the price difference was 10 grand.
Yeah.
Who's gonna it doesn't make sense on some level as far
Yeah.
as daily drive. Like if I'm gonna take that on one road trip, it's gonna cost me $10,000.
And it doesn't make
Yeah.
a lot of sense to Toyota buyers.
Yeah, buyers.
Like typically the Land Cruiser buyer was that guy that was buying one every 2 years. He was taking it in, trading it in, getting a really good residual on his purchase, and and he's a very, everything about his purchase is sort of defined and encapsulated in that car.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now it's turned into a collectible, Defender 90 from the 90s,
Yeah.
where they quit making them and they've just went through the roof.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting.
But then we've got 30,000 mile ones, 40,000.
Sure.
Like there is if this is a car you want, there's a price point.
You've got one.
that we
Yeah,
have.
There's a wall of them right there.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. Okay, so we're coming up on 2 hours, so we'll give you one more field to run in and frolic through. Okay. One of the things that I'm sitting here thinking about, and I would love to throw y'all a meatball to hit a homer on it, to fascinate us, but because of this world these waters that you swim in, you've gotten kind of the level 1 dream car for a dude, just in general, and then you've gotten pretty much all of them that have ever existed. But I feel like now that you've done it, and Defenders are still beautiful, but they're just so available to you. Is there other dream cars that are maybe like in a more, I don't know if luxury is the right word.
In another
Myers could probably
realm.
ask this question better than me. But I'm like, is there like a
An
vintage,
unattainable sort of.
like a vintage
The it
Ferrari
car that you're
that
chasing?
y'all have? Like, would you say you have a dream car right now?
I mean, I know Kip does, and it's probably gonna be a lot different than what y'all.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause it's just so
if
hard.
if I was to sneak up on a, some reason somebody put a '98 Toyota T100 in a airplane hangar, and it looked like it came off the showroom floor and had 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
Like that is I know that that's not this luxury
Sure,
thing,
sure.
but that's my
Yeah.
holy grail. And one day, I've seen some on Bring a Trailer that have had like 30 or 40, and they're not quite the one I want.
Yeah.
But as far as just like money's no option, I've just always said that I'll have a 200 series Land Cruiser in my driveway, a Defender 90 of some sort, and a 911. Like, I probably would be okay with. I mean, the Dakar is definitely the car that I would probably have if I could have anything, but like a Targa GTS maybe would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Talking buyer's language, right?
And I
Yeah,
want
I'm a
it.
big
And I want it to
Porsche
be.
guy.
I want it to be green.
Yeah.
With brown leather.
Uh-huh.
I want it to have that sort of that army green custom paint. Paint sample. But
That would
yeah,
be
not.
so
But I mean, you
awesome.
get in this business and you don't become sort of numb to it, but when you've seen it all and you've driven it all, it just kind of boils down to
What fits you?
yeah, and that's what we try to find for our customers, and we're pretty good at like, look at this because this is going to make a lot more sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm never been a
The
Maybach,
Sure.
Bentley, Lamborghini, and we have them. I mean, we have a Ferrari sitting here, and yesterday we had a Lamborghini in the showroom, and we've had a 356B that left yesterday. That was
Right
a really
there.
cool car.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we've owned and bought and driven all the cars, and I just personally, it's more of like a personality thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like everybody being like, oh my God, like that is so, I just, I want to be a little bit under the radar,
Right.
but
Sure.
also,
You want to stick out to the guys who
get it.
Who get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the difference in like a rich guy and an enthusiast, I think.
Yeah.
100%.
The rich guy wants the newest Ferrari SF90, whatever.
And I'll buy it for him. We'll sell it to him, man.
Right. Exactly. But the enthusiast, I don't know. It's maybe you do want a Ferrari, but you want a 612 Scaglietti with a manual transmission because that's just weird and interesting, and it's cool to people who know what it is.
And everybody's got their thing, and some of it's nostalgia. Their grandfather drove it, or they were on the Mobile Bay Bridge as a 18-year-old kid going to a baseball camp at South Alabama and saw this,
Like,
girl drive by.
do you guys know the Z24 Cavalier?
No idea.
No.
So whenever I was in playing baseball, like we had an assistant coach, and this was, I think I might have been in 8th grade, and he was maybe, I don't know, 18, 20, just kind of helped out as a baseball player, and he drove a manual Z24 Cavalier blue.
You know what's actually hilarious?
Yeah,
I saw one of these like 2 or 3 days ago.
That's it.
And
The
I
blue,
took
that's that blue one.
I took
those
a
wheels,
picture
those
of it.
machine wheels. Oh my God, that's my dream car.
I didn't know what that was, and I took a picture of it
Yeah.
because I was like, "What is this thing?"
There was just like,
Aura.
just riding with him and the way that thing shifted, and
that's
like
his
just-
T100.
That-
Is that,
yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
necessarily
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
sexy.
I
or,
could find the best example of one that it would maybe be $6,000. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's,
and they don't exist with
They
low
don't-
miles.
Right,
they don't.
right.
But
Same
like,
with the T100.
but like
Yeah.
something like the Z24 Cavalier, like that one you picked up, the blue, the machine wheels
Yeah,
with the two-tone. I mean, that is like, and it's just nostalgia for me. It's like the first time I saw a Defender 90 was like at the beach in Pensacola because for some reason Sandy Sansing had new Defenders, and I'll just never forget that day, like seeing one in person for the first time. Like this was probably in '90.
What about you guys?
I'm a 911 guy.
No money, no option. What's in your driveway?
I would daily drive a Singer probably.
Yeah.
I feel like just a Singer Classic. It's like really classy. I feel like when you're driving an old 911, it's not. That car might cost like $500,000, but it's not offensive to people,
Yeah.
Whereas some of the
I love the
Lamborghinis
stuff,
and
the
Ferraris
little
are.
touches he does. Like the door handles and the seats.
It would between that and an ST, a new ST would be like the it car, I think, for me.
I think if there was literally if
No
you give me
budget.
blank check,
Yeah.
like a military Jeep or a military Land Cruiser, like a
Yeah.
58 Land Cruiser with like the bench seats in the back.
I mean, you don't need a big budget for that.
I mean, that is like just the coolest
Steven works
car
in
of
ministry,
all
so
time.
he
Yeah.
tries to be a
I
little
tell
more
you,
realistic.
what you would really want if you like that look is go buy one of those military portal axle G wagons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those things are, what are they called? Wolves? Like
Yeah.
the Wolf
Oh
G-Wagon?
yeah.
Dude, that would be,
That would
you'd
be
be
so
in heaven
sweet.
on that one.
Yeah.
Because
Those
you
are
could probably spend a lot of money on that truck getting it over here.
Yeah.
That would be,
That would be so
pretty amazing.
freaking sweet. I think it'd be cool. Honestly, like my mom had a convertible for a little bit. I forgot what it was.
It's a Buick
Yeah, it was like an
Verano
old
or
woman.
whatever the.
like a lesser-
Yeah.
It was something like that. And the only thing that I would want specifically in a dream car is like the ability to take the top off completely. So
Yeah.
I think the old, like the 1980s 4Runners always catch my eye, like
Yeah.
the ones with like the soft top that you can completely take off.
We've got one back there. We'll
Yeah,
show you.
when we
Oh,
walk back there,
let's
we'll
go.
show you.
Cool.
One. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I think, and then one of my like fondest memories was driving in Kauai with my wife and my brother-in-law and my sister were in the back seat, and we just drove a Jeep Wrangler, and it was just like the best vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
All
I
right,
mean,
I have one more question.
all right.
Yeah.
What's the golf tee about?
I mean, we're
Steven's tattoo for context.
Gosh, dude. So, me and my buddies, I'm an hour and 50 minutes. I can get in trouble for saying this on a podcast if I tell the whole story. I'll tell you the rest of the story after we
Yeah.
get off the podcast. But me and like 4 of my best friends played golf every Monday for 2.5 years, and we all got it whenever
Cool.
that season ended. And I'll tell you why we got it. Why it's a little bit more significant to get a tattoo later. Yeah, but it's it is Birmingham Country Club's golf tee.
Yeah.
So
That's
every
cool.
golf tee, every country club. Are y'all golfers?
Yeah.
Yes.
I see your
Yes.
your cricket shirt.
Yeah.
And then y'all know Ron too, right?
Yeah.
Pebble
Ron
Ridge
Smith.
Ron- yeah, he worked.
Legend.
He worked here for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow. That actually kind of gets y'all like you know what Huckberry is? Sure,
Yeah.
you know what
Oh, yeah.
Huckberry is.
Yeah.
Y'all kind of have the vibe of the
Yeah.
owners of Huckberry, and so does Ron.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like
When we were doing like branding and different things, you know, I always would say, you know, when I'm doing trying to get somebody to do our social media or whatever, I always refer
Yeah.
to like a garden and gun
Sure.
sort of ambiance, you know,
Yeah.
where it's
Huckberry does a good job.
that vibe.
And that's one thing we've talked about through the years. Like, you know, we like weird stuff and
Yeah.
goofy, and you know, whether it's like some new driver that's come out or some, you know,
We're gonna start
tent.
doing limited drops here. That's
yeah,
the new
like,
thing.
That's what we were
you
thinking.
know?
Like what's something that we're into like right now? Like, I know this is weird, but I'm like obsessed with grounding sheets.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so like I felt
That took a
like
turn.
So like I went through like
This
trying
is
to
what happens
find-
2
trying to
hours
find-
in.
Yeah, trying to find. And so like I found
Should
like
I go
this
get the
one,
bourbon?
So I found this one brand, and so I'm like, I want everybody to know about this brand. Like, this
He bought
brand.
me a set
So
for
I
my
bought Kip
birthday.
a set for his birthday.
Yeah.
And even, you know, it might be like a wine glass. That you're
And I will
obsessed
say
with.
this.
Yeah.
But, like that's kind of like Huckberry.
I
like,
started
like,
playing tennis, and I've never played tennis.
Oh gosh.
And I'm, 48 years old, and so you finish
how
a
old are-
round of
How old are you?
you finish a round of tennis, and I'm the next day I'm like, my feet hurt,
Dead
I
tired.
can't hardly walk, my legs are, and I'm telling you, I played in a tennis match last night.
Oh, you're like in a league. That's
Yeah,
actually awesome.
yeah. And I'm in the lowest level league that
Uh-huh.
that they have, and it went into extra, overtime. Yeah, it went into, and we took it to like, I don't know, it just kept going. We were the
Yeah,
last team standing, and I got up this morning. I've been this is my second night on those grounding sheets, and I swear to God, I was not.
That is actually
Sore.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the grounding
Be,
sheets.
be a hyperlink.
Yeah. Yeah. Link
Yeah.
below to
Link below.
wherever
That's
this
cool.
place is, this company.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah.
I
We
was-
could, we could,
But we
I'm
thought
telling
about
you
going
that
like the
we're the kind of
Huckberry
guys
kind
that
of
we could
like-
keep digging on these side
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
Just
I was
we'd
gonna
be
say
here
this is
6 hours later.
Yeah, this is
It's so
all I
good.
want to do is talk about stuff
But
like
this
this.
is, and
Yeah.
the thing about it is, like, for us, this is the stuff that we want people to, like, sort of, and it may not be a podcast, but sitting around a campfire.
Yeah.
You know, they drive their truck up and you know, whether they're going on a fly fishing trip and they're in a drift boat and they're just talking about this stuff that's just like, that just kind of connects people, and
Yeah.
you get to know them better, and that is the epitome of sort of the go live it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and so
The substance. Yeah.
yeah, the good stuff. So
Mhm.
That's
We all
so
do it
good.
well.
we appreciate you guys.
Thank
Yeah.
y'all. This was
Yeah,
this
thank
was
you
a
for doing
lot
this.
of fun.
Thanks for hosting us too.
Yeah, y'all are. I mean, it was genuinely so cool to hear about all the history of it all, where y'all came from, kind of how you stumbled into it as well, just through natural interest. So
Where can people find y'all?
RMR4x4.com.
You can
Social. We're on
we're
Instagram.
on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. Or you can just call us.
Yeah.
Look up RMR4x4.
yeah, if we've learned anything,
Come
in
down
this,
here
in
and
this
look at this
podcast,
stuff,
they're
dude.
not like the other dealerships.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank y'all for being on.
Thanks, guys.
Guys, thanks for listening. You Whammers out there, I hope you, whether you're poor in status or rich in status, one day you'll all be able to afford a nice little visit down here to RMR4x4. So thanks for being on.
Yeah.
And as they say in the furniture business, cheers.